Okay, today we'll see this persuasion, chapter 5. Uh, we'll see the concept of persuasion, definitions, the definition of persuasion, how do people persuade others, and what are the roots of persuasion, how do people convince or persuade others. We'll see these two main routes to persuasion, that is the central route and the peripheral route to persuasion. We'll start by defining persuasion and proceed to the Yale attitude change approach. The Yale attitude change approach. So, persuasion is the process of changing, modifying our attitude towards the object of attitude. The object of attitude can be the person, as we have discussed, the person, institution, the government, the country. So it is a process of changing our attitude towards the object of attitude based on some kind of effective strategic communication. So much of the persuasion we experience comes from outside forces, even though there are certain internal forces, such as, for instance, motivation, attention, and intrinsic motivation. So the main goal of why do we learn about persuasion? This is the main question in social psychology. How do people convince others to change their behavior, their beliefs, their emotions? So this is the main goal of this discussion, because studying how people convince others is very important for social psychologists, because consumer behavior, uh, the decision to buy some objects, some products, is based on this principle. So the first is the Yale attitude change approach. So Hovland conducted research on persuasion uh, during the Second World War, and he proceeded to conduct research on persuasion at Yale University even after the war. Out of his extensive research, he developed the Yale attitude change model. So the model describes conditions under which people tend to change their attitude, their cognitions, emotions, and behavior. So Hovland indicated that certain features of the source of a persuasive message, such as the content of the message, characteristics of the audience, for instance, intelligence, self-esteem, academic status of the audience, the target audience, and techniques of the message, the techniques, strategies employed in the message affects the persuasiveness of the message. So the model describes in detail who the source, what the content, and whom the audience, the target audience, influences persuasiveness of a message. So the persuasiveness of a message is not only determined by who says, but who says what and to whom. So the first feature affecting persuasiveness of the message is features of the source of the persuasive message. This indicates, for instance, includes credibility or the physical attractiveness of the speaker. For instance, speakers who have expertise on the topic and who are deemed as trustworthy are more persuasive than less credible sources. ለምሳሌ እዚህ በምንሰጠው ሜሴጅ ላይ እውቀት ያለውና የሌለው እኩል ተጽዕኖ ያመጣል። ለምሳሌ ሜዲካል ዶክተሮች ስለ ኒውትሪሽን ስለ ባላንስ ዳይት ቢናገሩ እና አንድ ተራ ሰው ቢናገር የትኛው ነው ኢፌክት የሚኖረው? አንድ የኒውትሪሽኒስት በኒውትሪሽን በአመጋገብ ዙሪያ ኤክስፐርት የሆነ ወይም ሜዲካል ዶክተር የተሻለ ፐርሱዌሲቭነስ ወይም ሌሎችን ማሳመን ይችላል። አንድ ሳይኮሎጂስት ስለ ፍቅር ቢናገርና አንድ ሌላ ለምሳሌ ሜዲካል ዶክተር ስለ ፍቅር ቢናገር ስለ ትዳር ቢናገር የትኛው ነው የተሻለ ኤክስፐርቲስ ያለው? ሳይኮሎጂስቱ ነው ወይም ሶሲዮሎጂስቱ ወይም ሳይኮሎጂስቱ ወይም ሶሻል ሳይኮሎጂስቱ ነው የተሻለ። ምንም እንደ ሳይኮሎጂ ባይሆንም ሶሲዮሎጂስቶችም የተወሰነ በዛ ኤሪያ ላይ ኤክስፐርቲስ አላቸው። So similarly, more attractive speakers are more persuasive than less attractive speakers. The second one, the first one is expertise. ምን ያህል ያውቃል የሚለው ነው። How much he or she is knowledgeable on the subject. And physical attractiveness also affects persuasiveness of the message. So more attractive individuals are more likely to persuade people or audience on specific topic or about specific products. For instance, attractive individuals are more likely to persuade people to buy a product than less attractive speakers. An example is the use of most of this time the use of famous actors, athletes to advertise products such as Coca-Cola on Ethiopian television. So, for instance, people use different retailers, shoppers, companies use famous actors, athletes like Haile Gebrselassie to advertise products on Ethiopian television or on movies, in films, in Amharic films, or in different shows, or in print media, for instance, in magazine and in bulletin. So the use of these actors or these athletes or these important figures to advertise, to use products when they are on television show or in print media is one of these, the first features of source of the persuasive message. Source of the persuasive message means that the person who is associated with the product. Source ለምሳሌ ኃይለ ገብረስላሴ በኢትዮጵያ ቴሌቪዥን ስለ ኮካ ኮላ እየጠጣ በኩባያ ላይ ኮካ ኮላ ሎጎ ያለበት በዛ ውሃ ቢጠጣ ኮካ ኮላን ትወደዋለህ ማለት ነው። ወይም ሌሎች ዘፋኞች ሊሆኑ ይችላል፣ ታዋቂ ዘፋኞች እንደነ ቴዲ አፍሮ ስለ የስ ውሃን ቢጠጡ የሆነ ነገር እየተናገሩ ያንን የስ የሚባለውን ሃይላንድ ውሃ ከቴዲ አፍሮ ጋር ታገናኘውና ከዛ ያን የስ የሚለውን ሃይላንዱ ስታይ ቴዲ አፍሮ ትዝ ይልሃል፣ ትጠጣለህ ማለት ነው። ይሄም ልብስም እንደዚሁ ልብስም አንድ ብራንድ የሆነ ልብስ የታወቀ ሰው በኢትዮጵያ ቴሌቪዥን ቀርቦ ያንን ልብስ ቢለብሰው ከዛ በኋላ ብዙ ሰዎች ያንን ልብስ ሲለብሱት እናያለን። So the first one is the source of the persuasive message? This is the first question. Who says? Who says what? The second one is this feature of the message. Feature of the message. That means, what is the message? Characteristics of the message. Prototypes of the message. This includes subtlety. The message should be indirect. Indirect messages are more persuasive than direct messages. Sideness. Messages having more than one side are more persuasive. And timing. So there should be the less time elapsed between the object that is persuaded and the persuader, the more persuasive the message will be. So, for instance, messages that are subtle or indirect are more persuasive than direct messages. ስለዚህ ሜሴጁ በግልጽ ነው። በግልጽ የሚቀርቡ ሜሴጆች ብዙ ጊዜ ሌላውን አያሳምኑም፣ ግን ሰብትል መሆን አለባቸው። በተወሰነ መልኩ ሰብቲሊቲ ወሳኝ ነው። ሳይድነስ ስንል ሁለቱም ሳይድ ይቀርባል ወይ ነው። ጠቃሚ ጎኑ መጥፎ ጎኑ ግን ጠቃሚ ጎኑን በዛ አድርገን እናቀርባለን ማለት ነው። ታይሚንግ ብለው በፕሮዳክቱ መካከልና ሰውየው ሲያቀርብ፣ ምሳሌ ስለ ሃይላንድ እያቀረበ ሰውየው ከዛ በኋላ ቢመጣ ያለው ሰከንድ ነው። ስለ ሃይላንድ በማይክሮ ሰከንድ ውስጥ ነው። You remember the case of this classical conditioning. The amount of time elapsed between the presentation of the unconditioned stimulus, the meat powder, and the presentation of this neutral stimulus, that is the sound of the bell, so that the dog will associate the meat powder with the sound of the bell. So the little time elapsed, the more likely that the message will be persuasive. The third factor is that messages of features of the audience, characteristics of the audience. That means the property, the characteristics of the audience. Who are the audience? The target audience. ይህም የሚያዳምጡ ሰዎች እነማን ናቸው እንደማለት ነው። This includes are they attentive? Are they intelligent? የምናቀርብላቸው ሰዎች ወይም ሃይላንዱን ወይም ኮካውን የሚጠቀሙ ሰዎች አቴንቲቭ ናቸው ወይም አቴንቲቭ ናቸው ማለት እንግዲህ በንቃት ላይ ናቸው ወይ፣ ኢንተሊጀንት ምሁር ናቸው ወይ፣ ያውቃሉ ወይ፣ ሰልፍ ስቲም አላቸው ወይ፣ ኤጃቸውስ ምንድነው? So this, the more attentive and intelligence an individual or a target audience is, the more likely the persuasive message will be, depending on the subject of persuasion. Generally, lower intelligence is associated with more persuasiveness. Lower intelligent people are more likely to be persuaded than higher intelligent people, depending on the object of persuasion. ስለዚህ ብዙ ያልተማሩ ሰዎች ወዲያውኑ ማሳመን እንችላለን፣ የሆነ ነገር እንዲገዙ፣ የሆነ ነገር እንዲያደርጉ። And moderate self-esteem is also associated with persuasiveness of the message. መካከለኛ የሆነ ሰልፍ ስቲም ያለውም እንደዚሁ persuaded ይሆናል። ምክንያቱም ዝቅተኛ ሰልፍ ስቲም ካለው አይቀበልም፣ ከፍተኛ ሰልፍ ስቲም ካለው ይከራከራል። ሁለቱም ሞዴሬት። ግን ኢንተሊጀንስ ላይ ስንመጣ ብዙ ያልተማሩ ሰዎች፣ ብዙ የማይመራመሩ ሰዎች ወዲያው ሀሳባቸውን የመቀየር ነገር ይኖራል ማለት ነው። Still, we'll see this, the likelihood model. The likelihood model. Based on the likelihood model, for instance, the central road to persuasion has more effect for intelligent people. So the technique we employ to change their attitude determines whether the level of intelligence. That means whether low intelligence is more persuadable than higher intelligent people. And people within the age range of 18 to 25 are more persuadable than older adults. This is about target audience. So the second model is the elaboration likelihood model. Features of the source of persuasive message, that means the content of the message, characteristics of the audience, determines when attitude change will occur. So according to this model, the elaboration likelihood model, there are two routes to persuasion. So in delivering a persuasive message, there are two routes: the central route and the peripheral route to persuasion. The central route to persuasion and the peripheral route to persuasion. The central route to persuasion is logic driven. So it's based on reason, logic, hypothetical deductive reasoning, evidence, scientific evidence, abstract reasoning about the product. For instance, relating the importance of the product to scientific research. For instance, when you are talking about Coca-Cola, you should base the importance of Coca-Cola based on recent empirical scientific investigations or findings that show the importance, the relevance of Coca-Cola for some physical, mental health, some physical or mental health, or for some physiological importance. For instance, according to this, the central route to persuasion, a car company seeking to persuade the people to purchase their model, their car, will emphasize on car safety features and fuel economy. ይሄ ማለት ምንድን ነው? አንድ ሰው ለምሳሌ መኪና የሚሰራ ከሆነ ያን መኪና ቶዮታ ከሆነ ያ ሞዴል ቶዮታውን እንዲገዙ ይሄ ቶዮታ እኮ ፊውል አይጨርስም፣ ነዳጅ አይጨርስም፣ እንደዚህ ችግር ሊያጋጥም ሲል የሆነ ድምፅ ያሰማል። ይሄ ምንድነው? ፕሮዳክት ኳሊቲ ነው። This is based on scientific investigation, logic driven, data driven persuasion strategy. It is a direct road to persuasion that focuses on the quality of the product. So remember that we have said that according to the Yale attitude change approach, higher intelligent people are less likely to be persuaded. But in the case of, if you use this central road to persuasion, you are more likely to persuade higher intelligent people. So the case that low intelligence is more associated with higher persuasion. That means low intelligent people are more likely to be persuaded than higher intelligent people is based on the model. According to this model, for instance, people with higher intelligence are likely to be persuaded using the central route to persuasion. So the argument must be strong. For instance, in the case of this central route to persuasion, the argument must be strong to result in lasting attitude change. So the target audience should be analytical, intelligent, willing to engage in processing of the information. The target audience should be intelligent, analytical, attentive. እነዚህ መሆን አለበት። ይሄ የተማረ ሰው ተመራማሪ ለምን ብሎ እንትን የሚጠይቅ የሚያነብ ከሆነ ይህንን ስትራቴጂ መጠቀም እንችላለን ማለት ነው። ስለምንናገረው ነገር ፕሮዳክት ጠቀሜታ ወይም ስለምንናገረው ጠቀሜታ ከሳይንሳዊ፣ ከሎጂክ፣ ከአብስትራክት ሪዝኒንግ ጋር አገናኝተን የምናሳምነው ማለት ነው። ይሄ ላልተማሩ ሰዎች ብዙ ላይጠቅም ይችላል፣ ግን የተማሩ ሰዎችን ቶሎ ፐርስዌድ ማድረግ ማሳመን እንችላለን። So let me give you this homework. From advertisers, from ads perspective, what products would be best sold using central route to persuasion? What audience would most likely be influenced to buy the product? ለምሳሌ አንድ እቃ ወይም አንድ ፕሮዳክት ለማስተዋወቅ ትፈልጉ በቴሌቪዥን ወይም በሬዲዮ ምን አይነት ሰዎች ናቸው በዚህ ሞዴል ኢንፍሉዌንስ የሚደረጉት? እርግጥ ቅድም ተናግሬዋለሁ። ምን አይነት ፕሮዳክቶች ናቸው በዚህ ሞዴል ማስተዋወቅ የምንችለው? ይህንን ሴንትራል ሩትን በመጠቀም ምን አይነት ፕሮዳክቶችን፣ እቃዎችን፣ ሸቀጦችን ወይም የተለያዩ ነገሮችን ማስተዋወቅ እንችላለን? እንደገና ደግሞ ምን አይነት ሰዎች ናቸው በዚህ ሴንትራል ሩት ቱ ፐርሱዌሽን ቶሎ ያንን ፕሮዳክት የሚገዙ ወይም አቲቲዩዳቸውን ቼንጅ የሚያደርጉት? አቲቲዩድ ስንል እንግዲህ እንደተወያየ ነው ኮግኒሽን፣ ኢሞሽን፣ ቢሄቪየርን ያጠቃልላል። So example, when buying a computer, for instance, small business owners may be influenced by the computer's quality, such as processing speed, memory capacity. These are based on scientific evidence. The second one is this: the peripheral road to persuasion. The peripheral road to persuasion. This is an indirect route to persuasion based on association of peripheral cues or heuristics. So people associate the product with significant figure without basing their knowledge on knowledgeable expert individual or scientific evidence. So instead of focusing on facts and products quality, it relies on positive association. It is based on classical conditioning, simple association, emotional. You remember that the emotional component of our attitude is based on classical conditioning, association between unconditioned response, unconditioned stimulus, and neutral stimulus to produce this conditioned response. For instance, having popular athletic expertise, for instance, having a popular athlete expert advertise athletic shoes is a common method used to encourage young adults to purchase the shoes and celebrity endorsement. ለምሳሌ ኃይለ ገብረስላሴን ስለ ስኒከር ወይም ስኒከር ሹዝ እንዲያስተዋውቅ ብናደርግ ወይም ስለ አንድ አዲዳስ የሚባል ጫማ ኃይለ ገብረስላሴ እሱን ለብሶ ብናይ ወይም ስለሱ ቢያወራ ማለት ነው። ከዛ በኋላ እንትን ያድርብናል፣ ፍቅር ያድርብንና ጫማውን ያንን አዲዳስ የሚባል ጫማ እንገዛለን። ነገር ግን ይሄ ከሳይንሳዊና ከአመንቴዎ ወይም ከሎጂክ ጋር የተገናኘ አይደለም። ለሰነፎች የሚሆን ነው። ለብዙ ህዝብ ግን ይሄ ይሆናል። ይሄም ይደረግበታል። የባላቶሊን የራስ ቁርጥ የራስ የፀጉር ቁርጥ ስታይል እሱ ስላደረገ ብቻ እንደሱ የሆኑ ብዙ ነበሩ በአንድ ወቅት። ይሄ ምንድን ነው የምንለው? ፕሪፈራል ሮድ ቱ ፐርሱዌዥን የምንለው ነው። ፕሪፈራል ሮድ ቱ ፐርሱዌዥን this is not central road. It's not based on science. It's not based on logic in reasoning. So the second style of persuasion or strategy of persuasion does not need this attention, motivation, analytical skills, scientific reasoning, hypothetical or deductive reasoning, abstract reasoning. So it's based on simple association. It needs little memory, little or no memory. It's subtle. There is much subtlety. It does not require effort or information processing. So this model may promote positivity towards the product, but this is based on simple association. But the change in attitude is not permanent, it is more temporary. The audience are not audience or target audience are not analytical, motivated, scientific, abstract reasoner. So an example, maybe for instance, the season one example I've given you is a local example. This is uh, another example, for instance, one reason of the reality TV series, reality show in American Idol, prominently used this panel of judges drinking out of cups that displayed Coca-Cola logo. Coca-Cola logo ያለውን አንድ ካፕ ወይም ብርጭቆ ወይም ኩባያ በዛ ውሃ ቢጠጡ የኮካኮላን ሎጎውን ብቻ ስላዩ ምልክቱን ስላዩ ያንን ኮካኮላውን የማስተዋወቅ እና ብዙ ሰዎች እንዲጠጡት የማድረግ ነው። So this is simple. The second one is simple, not based on logic. So let me give you some this question homework assignment. What other products would be best sold using the preferred road to persuasion? Thank you for your attention.